la la la. Dee, 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 dee. Hello everybody, a warm welcome. Yes, yes. I'm here. I've thrown this form, and I was just wondering. You know, it's always not a dilemma, but it's always when we come to have thrown a form or a pot, and we want to then move on to either engraving it, incising it, decorating it, whether it's in its raw state like this pot which has been thrown, or whether it's already been bisque fired. It's always maybe sometimes we know exactly what we want to do and how we want to do it. Other times we've thrown the form, but then we seem sometimes perplexed. At least I do sometimes. I get perplexed sometimes. I don't always know exactly, you know, how I'm going to go about decorating, you know, and I think in truth it's probably something that we all go through, isn't it? And so anyway, I've thrown this form. In fact, when I was throwing it, I was thinking of doing something different, but then I was thinking about the pot again, and I suddenly saw something in my mind's eye. Do you ever see something in your mind's eye? You know what I mean? On the screen of your mind, I suddenly I began to see something happening, and I saw something happening with some white slip actually, and a hakeme brush, and so I slightly diverted, you know, from what I was originally thinking. I became, because I was open-minded and I'm used to working in this kind of way, and I think sometimes it's fresh and invigorating to do something that is fresh in your mind, you know. That's not to say that every time you do that it's going to be a success necessarily. You know, things don't always work out as we imagine. However, the important thing is to give things a try. Don't be a coward. Don't just live within the confines of what you know or what you think you can do. Sometimes it's good just to break out a bit and do something, you know, something a little different. Anyway, enough talk. Actually, what I want to do, and I've got a bucket of, here on the floor, down there, I've got some white slip, which is just china clay and bee mix, I think. So I'm just going to take some of this in here, like that. So I've got that up here on the wheel in front of me. So maybe we will move this bucket and bring the camera in a little closer. So there we are. Okay, so now what I did here, what I did with this pot, incidentally, if you're working with slips and things, good idea, always keep a sponge handy so you can keep things a bit clean, you know. So Okay, so I've got two implements here, a wide hacky type brush, and what I'm going to do with them is I'm going to wet them in some clean water before I use them. Problem in this place is I don't have any clean water because I don't have a tap in this room. Okay, so I've wet the. Now if you're going to use brushes, if you're going to use pigments, if you're going to use wax, if you're going to use slips, wet your brushes before you before you dip them in the glaze. If you don't, they'll take on an abnormal amount of glaze will stick to them because they're dry. You know, it's that old thing about absorption. Because they're dry, they're very absorbent, so they'll cake on the brush. So it's always a good idea to wet them. So what I want to do is, and I don't have a clear plan of action here, so I'm going to take some of this slip. As you can see, it's fairly thick, isn't it? Now, just a word here. I have, in fact, torched this pot beforehand, so it's not like I've just thrown it. It's not freshly thrown. It was thrown about half an hour, 40 minutes ago, but I did put with a torch on it, so it's stiffened up somewhat. Because, you know, when you want to do something with a hakeme brush in this in this way, you don't want the pot to be too soft. So when I strike with the brush, the pot just caves in. You know, you want a certain amount of resistance there, a certain amount of stiffness. All right. So I'm going to take this brush, which is loaded. We're going to strike it. I'm going to do this. I think it's always a good idea when you're working in this way to sort of have a rough idea of how many times you're going to do this. So I'm going to strike it 3 times. Now when you do this, exercise a certain amount of boldness, okay? Don't be hesitant. That's not what we want to be. We want to be direct, bold, confident. Okay? Even if you don't feel it, just do it. There it is. Now I'm going to take my hacky brush. No. Not my hacky brush, but my hakeme brush. What the heck? What the heck? Hack. Okay, right, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the feel of this. So, now you need to let this set up a little bit. If you strike immediately with the brush, this may not be very clearly defined. So, going back looking at these, which was the first one I did, the most dry, you want to get it not so it's too hard, otherwise you won't get that effect, you see, and you don't want it so it's too soft. So I'm just looking at this. Yeah. Okay. Which is the next one? I think it's this one. You see, I'm getting the definition. It's scratching through to the clay underneath, but it's not so wet that it kind of I lose the definition. If it would be too wet or too thick, there it is. Okay. I'm not quite sure how the definition comes out on this, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring the camera a little closer and change the focus so that you get it, you can see that effect. Alright, it's fairly crisp. Okie dokie. Well, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it there at that now, because this now will be bisque fired, and this will be fired on permanent, and then afterwards I will, with iron oxide and possibly another overglaze, I will do some treatment. I'm just getting the sensation, the feeling that now is the time to leave this and not to do any more. Okay, so I'm just going to pull back the camera. You can see here on the right another pot that I've been playing around with. Another form. I've got some other shapes here as well I've been doing. That one there. That one there that you're looking at now, that one was a one that I threw the body and then added the neck on. That is another one there. And I've got some others. Well, that pot now, I think we will just put the stick in at the bottom here, and cut him through. This pot will have to be trimmed underneath, but not yet, of course, because I turn it upside down, let it dry a bit. Please visit my website, simonleachpottery.com, and if you're a regular viewer of my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and yeah, and keep practicing. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.